This video is brought to you by Gamersubs. Use code MHB at checkout for 10% off your next order. I'm on a quest to platinum every PS3 game that I own, so I put all my PS3 games into a wheel, and one by one we're platinuming whatever the wheel lands on. We've platinumed 6 games so far, and all of those videos are available in this playlist if you're new to the channel and need to catch up. For the third week in a row, I'm hoping for a longer, more chill platinum experience like an RPG or something, but as usual, I'll take whatever I can get. As always, if you do end up enjoying the content and want to see more like it, like the video, leave a comment, subscribe, and let's spin the wheel to see what we're platinuming this week. Alright, we're back with the PS3 randomizer, and at this point, you know the drill. So, we get what we get, we don't get upset. Let's see what we're platinuming this week. Yes! Oh my god, I've been really hoping for Fallout, honestly. As I've said, I think in the last couple of videos, I've been hoping for an RPG. So, you know, Fallout 3 on PS3, not the best version. I'll be straight up with that. I would love a remaster, but I'm excited to platinum this. This should be fun. As long as it's not too broken, it should be fun. I'm happy to play all the games on this platinum wheel, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't have some favorites. Games I'm eagerly awaiting the wheel to pick, and Fallout 3 was definitely one of them. I wouldn't have said no to New Vegas, but 3 will do just fine. Fallout 3 introduced me to the world of Fallout, and it hooked me damn near immediately. I played this game for hours and hours, doing every quest, visiting every location, playing all the DLC, going after rare weapons, going through good, bad, and neutral playthroughs. I have been obsessed with this game and this series since that first playthrough. New Vegas would go on to be one of my all-time favorite games. I went back to Fallout and Fallout 2 and grew to appreciate the series' beginnings, and with the newer releases, even if I don't love everything about them, being a part of a Fallout world is just something that's hard to top. So needless to say, I was very excited to be able to revisit Fallout 3 today, and I'll be honest, trophy-wise we had an almighty head start on this one, as I already had 31 out of the 51 main game trophies unlocked. Back in 2015, I apparently went on a Fallout 3 kick and beat the main story along with a lot of the side quests. So to make up for the loss of that trophy dopamine hit, I'll be going for not just Fallout 3's platinum trophy in this video, but all the DLC trophies as well for that 100%. So let's get stuck into this.
My friend! I see I found you at last!
Since I've already gotten all the main story trophies, we sort of have a bit more freedom as to what to do and where to go. But of course, first we need to start a new game, be welcomed into this world, have a birthday party, take a test that will determine your whole life, or just skip all that and pick the stats you want, and then have your father abandon you, the entire vault turn on you, and get the hell out of here into the capital wasteland. Okay, now we're off, and first things first, we need to reach level 5 before we jumped into our first of 5 DLC. Why level 5? Well, because throughout this platinum, we need to reach certain levels with good, bad, and neutral karma, and if you're stuck in a DLC, it makes it really difficult to manipulate your karma and do all of this in one playthrough. So in the beginning, I went exploring, discovering locations, fighting enemies, and completing the one quest that I'll never ever skip in Fallout 3, the Wasteland Survival Guide. Moira is a gem, and I will always help her with this crazy book no matter what. Plus, it's a great beginner quest as it pushes you to explore further and further regions of the wasteland. Anyway, we reached level 5 and it was time to go and help the outcasts who are very interested in our Pip-Boy. There's an armory that can only be opened via surviving the training simulation, Operation Anchorage, and the only way into that simulation is a Pip-Boy. So we agreed to help the outcasts in exchange for our fair share of the armory goodies, and it was time for a Fallout history lesson. It's time to take part in the liberation of Anchorage, Alaska, currently occupied by the Chinese military in 2076. Our job is to make our way through Anchorage, sabotaging artillery, intel posts, refuel stations, and ultimately take out the Reds' leader to complete the simulation. As a DLC, it's fine. I like the concept, but it doesn't feel very Fallout. It leans heavily on the shooting, which is not Fallout 3's strongest aspect, putting it politely. I'll also address the elephant in the room while we're here because it was really bad in Anchorage. The performance of Fallout 3 on the PS3 is rough. Seriously, if you're not a trophy hunter and want to revisit this game, play it on PC or Xbox and you'll have a far better experience. The frame rate and stuttering was a frequent issue once you get more than a couple of enemies on screen at a time, and the game crashed consistently for me every 2 to 3 hours. It's a very choppy feeling game to play in terms of combat that, if the game wasn't so good, would be infuriating. I will say, if you're just out in the wasteland exploring, the frame rate is decent most of the time. Not amazing, but steady enough. It's not all doom and gloom, there's still a good time to be had here, but with more combat focused quests and DLCs like Anchorage or Mothership Zeta, it does suffer, which isn't great because, working perfectly, they're the two weaker DLCs anyway. Thankfully, Anchorage only takes about 2 hours to complete, and all the trophies are simply for beating the DLC. That should be our first trophy. Aiding the outcast, let's go. Yeah, this should be a pretty short DLC. The Guns of Anchorage. Paving the way. Alright, we should have one more trophy left for Anchorage. Operation Anchorage. Alright, it's one DLC down. Now with one DLC down, some goodies in hand and hovering around level 7, it was time to do our first bit of karma manipulating. At level 8, 14, 20, and 30, we need to hit each of these levels with good, evil, and neutral karma. But I already unlocked the good karma trophies back in 2015 for all of them bar level 30. So it was time to get our evil on, just going into Megaton to take out some innocent bystanders to get to neutral and hitting level 8, and then doing the same thing but just taking out more people for evil karma. Mercenary. There's level 8 with neutral, so let's just do this again. There we go, Reaver. It's pretty easy to manipulate the karma system to get all these trophies in a single playthrough, and with the level 8 stuff done, it was on to what is widely considered the worst DLC of the bunch.
My friend! I see I found you at last!
Yeah, so this DLC initially wouldn't even let me pass the intro cutscene until I rebooted my entire PS3, so off to a good start. Once the game lets me into the actual DLC, it's pretty simple. We've been abducted by aliens, and we, along with the other survivors, need to get the hell out of here and back to Earth, and since we can't speech check our way out of here, yes, that means a whole lot of combat once again. After replaying this DLC, I definitely agree it's the weakest of the bunch. Anchorage didn't feel very Fallout, but at least it had the history behind it and felt more grounded in the universe. Mothership Zeta is like the developers said, it'd be cool if we fought aliens, and it's alright, not a bad concept, but it just sort of exists. I don't despise the DLC, it's goofy, and again the combat focus means the frame rate is back to struggling, but there's some highlights here for sure. But trophy wise, we do need to put a bit more effort into this DLC. Well, more effort than just beating the DLC, like Anchorage. There's 3 trophies for completing the 3 quests, and then there's a trophy for collecting all 25 alien recordings amongst the ship, and it's best to do this as you go because some of these will be locked off once you progress. Thankfully, most of the recordings are on your general path. You don't have to scour absolutely every nook and cranny of the ship, but best to have a guide just in case. Don't want to have to replay this whole DLC because you fumbled. Not of this world. Among the Stars. Hey, is this the last one? Let's go! That's all the alien recordings. Alien Archivist. That's not too bad. This galaxy ain't big enough. Alright, that is Mothership Zeta done. I mean, so we've only done 2 DLCs, probably the 2 weakest DLCs to be honest, so it's not the best, but it's fine. And with the aliens taken care of and Earth saved, we headed back to the wasteland with the biggest benefit of this DLC, the weapons. The alien weapons are ridiculously good, even capable of taking on super mutant behemoths, so we made sure to stock up before leaving. Plus, they're worth a good few caps for duplicates. Anyway, that was 2 DLCs down, 3 more to go, but before we jumped into the next one, I decided to try and work towards the level level 14 trophies and chip away at the main story quest too. We may have the trophies already, but for the final DLC we need to beat the story, and there's some goodies we'll need along the way. So off to Galaxy News Radio we went, taking on these super mutants with ease, fixing up the radio dish, heading off to Rivet City, which was handy because I still needed to help Moira with her survival book, learn about something called Project Purity, quickly get sidetracked and completed the Wasteland Survival Guide, head over to the Jefferson Memorial, quickly realize Dad's not there, and well, that was where I stopped the main story for now because we're getting close to level 14 and the next quest would give us a good chance of getting stuck karma wise. So instead, to make sure we didn't get stuck, I went after the Declaration of Independence, which after facing the hordes of super mutants and robots meant by the time I was ready to turn in my quest, I could hit level 14. Pinnacle of Survival. What is he doing? Guys, I'm widowing. Harbinger of War.
My friend! I see I found you at last!
But now we have 6 levels until we have to worry about any karma related issues again, and so I ventured into DLC number 3, Point Lookout. Now Point Lookout has always been one of my favorites, top 2 for sure for Fallout 3. I love the eerie swamp, rundown town setting, the new enemies, and while it does have a fair bit of combat, tough combat encounters to boot, which again makes the game's performance go in the toilet, it still manages to feel like a Fallout experience because Point Lookout feels like a genuine expansion of the base game rather than a simulation or a wacky adventure outside the wasteland. All the base game staples are still here. You still have people to talk to and decisions to make, but also with a new environment and a slew of new enemies as well. It's all here and it was a blast to revisit. But again, it is a serious uptick in the challenge department as the new enemies who inhabit Point Lookout love sponging up all your ammo. I had grossly underprepared for this DLC just from an ammo perspective, so make sure you're not just stocked up on caps and medical supplies. Ammo is important too, and bring buckets of it. Thankfully, while you're exploring, you can just run past a lot of the enemies. The ghouls are the biggest headache, but even after a while, they'll lose interest. Now, right off the boat, I did not head to the mansion like many would, because yet again, Point Lookout has a trophy not just related to the main quest. It's for discovering every location in Point Lookout, and so that's what I went off to do first. Do you have to? No, but you definitely want to do everything you can in Point Lookout before you head back to the capital wasteland, because the ferry ticket isn't cheap if you want to come back. I figured I'd just get it out of the way first, make the main quest a bit quicker, having all the fast travel points already unlocked, and also not needing to worry about anything after the main quest was done. Bogwalker. Is that the trophy I'm looking for? With all the points of interest in the bag, it was time to embark upon the main quest. And yeah, this is so much more captivating than Anchorage and Mothership put together. You've got a grouchy ghoul Desmond under attack by inbreds and a savage tribe. Then you go and infiltrate that tribe or cult, trip balls in a swamp and get a piece of your brain taken out. Enter the tribe, find out they're being controlled by this hologram brain, which ends up being an arch rival of Desmond, and tries to buy our loyalty, but we are with our boy Desmond who, well, to be honest, is a prick, but better than the old floating brain down in the lighthouse, and so we take the brain out. Desmond gets his rival's treasure trove of information, we get some goodies, and it was time to head back to the capital wasteland. The local flavor. Walking with spirits. A meeting of the minds.
My friend! I see I found you at last!
A lot of Fallout 3's main trophy list is related to completing quests. 30 out of the 51 trophies to be exact, and back in 2015 I actually unlocked most of these trophies. I only had 5 quest related trophies left to grab, and I figured since I wasn't going to be going after any more DLC stuff until after the main quest was complete, before jumping back into the never-ending quest to find my dad, I would clean up these remaining trophies. Starting with Riley's Rangers. Riley, leader of the mercenary group, Riley's Rangers, is getting medical attention down in the ghoul city of Underworld, and she tasks us with finding and helping her team escape from the super mutant horde they walked into. Now this is where I get to bring up my biggest pet peeve with this game. The metro system sucks. Locations around the city area seem so close together, and then you realize you need to go through this specific tunnel to pop out the right side of town. It's very annoying. I've never liked it, I never will like it. Just let me walk across the map like I'm free to everywhere else on the map. Rant aside, after the difficulty of Point Lookout, the super mutants felt like light work. And there's plenty of terminals to hack, locks to pick, and goodies to find, so a very worthwhile quest all in all. Plus, after that's done, you get a device to earn caps just for discovering new locations on the map, which gives us some big bucks. Riley's Rangers. Next up was a quest I very rarely ever do in Fallout 3, and that is the Nuka-Cola Challenge, which just involves us searching the wasteland for 30 Nuka-Cola Quantums, glowing Nuka-Cola, and selling them to a superfan. It's a very time-consuming quest, something you typically just chip away at as you explore, but I just say to hell with it and just focus hard on getting it done now. There are a bunch of singular quantums scattered around the map in random spots, but the quickest way to do this is to focus on areas with at least 2 quantums around. This way, we're not just venturing across the map for a single item. But again, a very boring quest that after this I don't think I'll ever do again, unless a remaster happens, and I'm very happy about that. Plus, I found my 100th location, so that was something. One-man scouting party. Alright, that's for the 100 locations. This one's just a stinker of a quest. The Nuka-Cola Challenge. Yeah, I don't do this one very often, and for good reason, because that's a stinky quest. Next, we needed to head to the Ghoul City of Underworld once again for the quest Gotta Shoot 'Em in the Head, which means we need to talk to a Mr. Crowley. A ghoul with a hate boner for 4 individuals who apparently are bigots, and he wants them dead. Sounds simple enough until you speak to the actual people he wants dead and realize, yeah, there's more to this story. At the very least, these guys do not hate ghouls like he says. They might hate him, but it seems he just wants their keys from a job gone wrong. So thankfully, we have a high speech stat and can persuade most people to just give us their key. Best of both worlds situation, well, except for Tenpenny, he just has to bite the bullet, which is such a shame. You gotta shoot him in the head. Alright, that one's a bit of fun. Good for the speech checks, which we need. Next, we needed to head to the middle of nowhere to help a sweet old lady find a genuine violin lost in one of the vaults for the quest Agatha's Song. I always had a soft spot for this quest. You've got an old lady out of the way, husband is gone, and her violin is how she can still survive. It feels like a noble quest, plus it encourages us to go and explore more vaults, which we haven't done yet. Heading to Vault-Tec headquarters, taking on super mutants and robots to discover every vault in the capital wasteland, but in particular, Vault 92. If you didn't know, each vault held a different experiment, and 92 was no different, promising to preserve musical talent, but in reality, they were experimenting with white noise generators that implanted subliminal messages into the resident minds. Thankfully, this isn't a vault that's overrun with enemies, just a few Mirelurks here and there, so once inside the vault, you can get the violin and some sheet music pretty quickly and bounce back to Agatha. Agatha's Song. And finally, for the final side quest, that's related to trophies anyway, and probably one of the most memorable in Fallout 3, it's time to tackle Oasis. Oasis is such an awesome side quest because it immediately stands out for the environment. Fallout 3 definitely fits the mold of the brown grey era in gaming. It's a bleak world to look at, which, you know, makes sense, but Oasis is so vibrant in comparison, it instantly sticks out, and the quest here is pretty great too. Harold is such a great character, stuck in a tree, worshipped like a god for restoring life to the wasteland, but none of his followers listen to him, because all he wants is that sweet relief. There's a few endings to this quest, depending on who you side with, but for me, it's hard not to just side with Harold and put him out of his misery once and for all. It's better than keeping him secret or exploiting him further to try and restore the world quicker. Oasis. Alright, that is the final side quest trophy I have left. So now it's just DLC and and random bits and pieces. That was all the side quest stuff done, but once again, I found myself in that awkward spot of almost at level 20, so still couldn't get back to the story just yet. So instead, what I did was focus on crafting all the custom weapons and taking out all the super mutant behemoths. The custom weapons were pretty simple. I had most of the schematics already and a ton of scrap to boot. The only schematic I had to find was for the Deathclaw Gauntlet, and that was near the Nuka-Cola challenge, so it was pretty easy to grab that schematic and just build everything I need in one swoop. There we go, Weaponsmith. The super mutant behemoths were a little trickier. You definitely need those alien weapons, miniguns, missile launchers, and of course, the fat man for these giants because they do not go down easily. Thankfully, there's only 5 of them. We already took care of one of them by playing through the story, and most of these fights have either a fat man or more mini nukes just lying around to make these fights a bit easier. It only took one behemoth to get me ready to do some more karma manipulating, once again for level 20 this time. Paradigm of Humanity. Scourge of Humanity. And about 30 minutes later, all the behemoths were taken care of. I did kill them all, yep, cool. The bigger they are. Alright, now we can get back to the main quest. All that was left in the main trophy list was to take out 300 people, win 50 speech checks, hack 50 terminals, and collect all 20 bobbleheads. Most of which we just get naturally by continuing to play. But we still had more DLC stuff to do first, which meant it was time to actually pick up the story again and beat the game.
My friend! I see I found you at last!
Okay, it's finally time to get back to finding our dad, who has gotten himself stuck in a simulation looking for something called the Gek. So into Vault 112 we go. We cause a bit of a stir to please the simulation master. Remember, there's this sound puzzle to get us out of here a bit quicker, and summon the Chinese army to end this charade. And here it is, we finally caught up to our dad, and all he wants to do is get the gang back together and restart Project Purity, which is just to purify the water. I don't think I've explained that yet. So off to Rivet City to get the other scientists, and off to the memorial we go. Clearing out super mutants, turning on the power, and clearing out the pipes. When we meet the Enclave. Basically, the Enclave is the government, and they want the purifier for themselves. So Dad sacrifices himself, fills the chamber with radiation, and now we need to escape with the gang. With the help of Dr. Lee, we manage to get inside the Brotherhood of Steel capital, which is where we find the location of the Gek, so we head off to Vault 87, going through Little Lamplight, where I quickly farm some speech checks to get to 50 total. Silver-tongued devil, and entered the dark, creepy, super mutant infested vault. Through exploring, we find our first companion, Forks, who will be important later, but for now, he helps us grab the Gek and we're home free. Yeah, never mind. The Enclave found and captured us, taking the Gek in the process. Ultimately, the president of the Enclave likes us and wants to talk, so he frees us from our restraints, gives us all our stuff back, and tells us to meet him in his office. So that's exactly what we did, taking out Enclave soldiers along the way, taking out our 300th person. Doesn't play well with others. And meeting the president. This AI who wants us to start Project Purity, but slip in this formula to basically wipe out the ghouls and super mutants. So we take that formula because he doesn't let us leave without it, but we also convinced him to just blow this base up, which he does. Forks helps us escape, and now it's on to the final quest. Taking back the memorial from the Enclave and starting Project Purity. We follow behind the mighty Liberty Prime, suffer through the just awful frame rate, take out all the Enclave forces, and now we have a choice. Someone needs to sacrifice themselves for the good of the people. Is it you? Or Lions? Or the more logical pick, Forks, since he'll be just fine. Gee, I wonder what to choose. By the way, the game makes it very clear picking this means you're not a hero at all, and they do this because this was not an option in the original game, just a massive plot hole that they passive-aggressively fixed later on. Anyway, Forks starts the purifier, and that's the main story done and dusted. Now, if you didn't have Broken Steel, this would be the end, and you'd be booted back to before the ending. But with Broken Steel, we wake up 2 weeks later and get to continue on with playing the game.
My friend! I see I found you at last!
But first we need to make a pit stop.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
It was time to visit our next DLC, the Pit, which thankfully is another great piece of content, again outside of the technical struggles. I mean, look at this is genuinely a slideshow. The Pit is in that same sort of category as Point Lookout. It's outside the capital wasteland, this time taking us to what's left of Pittsburgh, but it still feels grounded in the same universe. It's dark, depressing, creepy, but also really compelling and interesting. Our mission here is pretty simple. The raider bosses of the Pit have found a cure to the mutations that being around the Pit is causing. I mean, this place is covered in radiation, and if it doesn't kill you, it drives you insane and turns you into a trog. Anyway, they have a cure, but they're not giving their slaves any of it. Our job is to get that cure and give it to the slaves, but to do that, we have to go undercover. No high-powered gear and weapons this time, we're dropped into the deep end and we need to survive and thrive to gain an audience with the raider leader. Now, there's only 3 quests in this DLC, one of which is just for getting inside, but the second one is where we can also work towards the miscellaneous trophy of the DLC. We need to find 10 steel ingots to move on with the story, but if we find all 100, not only will we be kitted out with some pretty damn sweet gear, but also a lovely trophy. These are actually a bit of fun to go out and find, even though there's a few spots where they just got lazy. I mean, seriously, 12 ingots in this one spot, try harder. Also, while I was hunting down my steel ingots and using my brand new auto axe, which always makes me want to focus on melee builds, I also managed to hack my 50th terminal in the process. Hey, data miner, nice. After we grab all our steel ingots to blend in, there we go, mill worker. Not actually as bad as I thought it was going to be. There's some of them, they got lazy. Let's just put 10 or 12 in the same spot. And fight our way through the arena, which with our new weapons is a joke. We finally have our audience with the raider leader, Asher, who, well, knows why we're here and tries to buy us out, essentially. And this is where the twist genuinely shocked me. I completely forgot that the cure is Asher's baby. So it's either we kidnap the baby and hand her over to the slaves, hoping we're doing the right thing, or we leave her put to be with her family, but also side with the raiders who are terrible human beings. It's a pickle of a choice, but ultimately I stick to the plan, take the baby, take out our parents too, whoops, sick the trogs on the raiders, and that's the Pit done and dusted, leaving us with just one more DLC to go. I was gonna say, that's a delay and a half, man. Into the Pit. Pit quest trophies take ages to bob. Jesus. Unsafe working conditions. Free labor. Alright, that's the Pit done. And now we just need to beat one more DLC.
My friend! I see I found you at last!
Alright, we've gone to the past, gone to space, visited neighboring towns, and experienced how the bombs impacted different regions. It was time to continue the story with the final DLC, Broken Steel. Probably the best one of the lot in my opinion, at least in terms of what it added. Increased the level cap, added new perks, continued the story on in a far more satisfying way, added quality side quests. It's a DLC well worth your time regardless if you're going for the 100% or not. Broken Steel shows us that the purifier now works, the wasteland now has clean water, but the Enclave is still a problem that needs to be stamped out. So we team up with the Brotherhood of Steel once again, and basically that's the story. It's nothing flashy, nothing too in-depth, but it gets the job done, which is just make the ending of Fallout 3 better. We get to team up with Liberty Prime one last time, the Enclave now has access to orbital strikes, and it's our job to sneak into their base and destroy it before they take out the Citadel or any other building they don't like. That's really all there is to it, and that's all I need. Death from above, and unlike the Pit, trophies are way quicker. Shock value. Who dares wins. Which just left 5 trophies remaining until finally the Platinum and 100% for Fallout 3 would be mine. 3 trophies centered around hitting level 30 with the 3 different karma ratings, and 2 trophies for collecting half and all of the bobbleheads. Now, at this point, I was level 28, so still a bit of work to do, and getting all the bobbleheads wasn't going to get me over the hump alone. So what I decided to do was up the difficulty all the way to very hard and make my way across the wasteland until I got 19 of the 20 bobbleheads, and that took me to a few hundred XP points off level 30, which is nothing. So I did some quick enemy farming, and we don't need to worry about karma manipulation this time around, because once we hit level 30, we'll be able to grab the perk to go straight to neutral or evil. There we go, Messiah, so that's level 30 as good. There we go, True Mortal, so that's for level 30 with neutral karma. Devil, which just left the final bobblehead, and with that the platinum popped, and our time with Fallout 3 was over. Yes, I play with dolls. Alright, we're halfway done with that. Vault-Tec CEO, platinum trophy, and that is Fallout 3 done. And this one's a really interesting one because the game is really enjoyable, but the performance on this one is terrible. So, would I recommend you play and platinum Fallout 3? This is another really tricky one because in terms of Fallout 3 itself and even the platinum and 100% process, yes, absolutely, it's fantastic. The issue isn't the content or the grind. I thoroughly enjoyed revisiting this game from start to finish and finally getting this platinum that took me 10 years to actually get. It's one of my favorite games. It's always nice to add those to the platinum collection. The issue is the performance is dog on PS3. This is genuinely the worst running game I've played on the console. From minor things like the screen tearing and pop-in to more major and constant issues like the almost time-based crashes or the even more annoying freezing, frame drops, and stuttering. I said it earlier, but when the game has those smooth patches, this is great fun and a great blast from the past. But when it has those issues, and it will have them often, it just drags the experience to a halt. This 100% journey only took me around 40 hours to get through, but because of all the technical issues, it just felt like a whole lot longer than that. So to put it simply, how much do you love Fallout 3? If you're like me, a fellow big fan, the performance still sucks, but the platinum is still a great get. If you've never played it and only have PlayStation systems though, wait for a remake or a remaster because this is by far the worst way to play a beloved game. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far into the video, make sure to leave a comment with "War Never Changes" to let me know that you made it to the end. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment below and let me know which PS3 game you hope the wheel lands on next, or any games to potentially add to the wheel. Shout out to the channel members for that extra level of support, and special thanks to members of the Bear Club: Scott Unwin, Steel Vanguard, It's Grey J, Dark Wolf, Zafado, Lug Knights, Golden Sparrow, Lord Alex, Kuzma, Jarvis McGee, G&T Papi, and One Wonder Hit. Thank you all, and I'll catch you in the next one.